welcome back, and today we are looking at B-Way grosses, and you know what, surprisingly, the smoke that was going all over New York did not affect the box office. And Juliet went from 95% to 98%, going from 1,131,405 to 1,134,159. A Beautiful Noise went from 68% to 74%, going from $875,807 to $930,736. And again, it's very surprising that, that shows actually did better than last week. Now, again, I think & Juliet, despite not winning any Tonys, is going to do very well and be on the Broadway for many years. A Beautiful Noise, I think, can survive. I mean, it did what? I think I said 900,000 this week. So, I think as long as it stays, in the 800,000, 900,000 range, it should be fine. And I could see it. I can see it making it to the end of next year. I think & Juliet will have a longer run than A Beautiful Noise, but I think they're gonna do decent enough over the summer to sustain the fall losses, and then they'll do well in November and December. So, if you're into those two musicals, they're doing well. Camelot, which had 7 performances because it canceled one, went from 80% to 81%, going from 747,958 to 693,887. And again, I think Camelot, apparently it is closing in September. It was always a limited engagement, I didn't know that. But I suspect they will not extend because it just seems like interest in this revival is just teetering. A Funny Girl, in which Leah Michele was out, went from 79% to 58%, going from 1,370,134 to $528,000, and that's because Leah Michele was not in it. Hadestown went from 93% to 96%, going from $687,623 to $711,000, which is better, but again, I still think Hadestown is at the end of its run. We won't really know if it will make it till January or not until September, October. I think it will do 700, 800, the occasional 6 in the summer, and that will not be enough to really tell us. But again, the past year, it's mainly been at the 6s and 7s, and that makes me think in the fall they could go back to that or even worse. Point is, I don't think Hadestown has a long time left on Broadway. And if they don't close in January of 2024, I feel like they will close in 2024. Hamilton went from 1,938,603 to $1,732,000, going from 99% to 100%. Kimberly Akimbo, which had 7 performances, went from 90% to 97%. Going from 517,650 to 526,175. And it will be interesting to see how this does post-Tonys, if it makes it into the 500s, the 600s, the 700s. I think that personally, if they cannot reach like 900,000, it's a fail. Like, this show should be in the $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 range after these Tony wins. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it will settle for 700,000 and 800,000. I still think it will close in January because they've lost a lot of money already, and I don't think the fall's going to be particularly kind to them. I saw somewhere that their operating costs, or weekly operating costs, is like 500,000 or whatever, which is pretty inexpensive. I don't know if I believe that because it wasn't confirmed. But if it is, leave it in the comments down below. Because if that's the case, then Kimberly Akimbo is doing fine. But again, in my experience, any musical that is making 500, 600 is not doing so hot. You know what I mean? Even the most inexpensive shows. So you do want to see Kimberly, be in the 700 plus category if you want it to survive past January, personally. But and again, I'm only tough on it because before the pandemic happened, Best Musical meant something. It made your box office get higher than it was previously. And I think that after the pandemic, something's happened about that. And I just think that these smaller, prestige Best Musical winners are not getting the box office that they once were. And again, realistically, Akimbo has been underperforming, in my opinion, and it should have done 600, 700 now, so it can then make 800, 900, 1 million in the summer and then in the fall. But again, I don't think it will get to 1 million, and I have a feeling that they will close it in January, but we'll see. Moulin Rouge went from 96% to 96%. Going from 1,202,139 to $1,249,000 this week. New York went from 74% to 78% for 7 performances, going from 859,285 to 854,738. And again, I think New York with its very high operating costs, it can do past 850. Put it that way. I don't think it's going to close in September. I think they'll make it to January. I think they'll do decent enough that producers will want to keep it going to see how it will do in the fall. But I do think once the fall hits, it will hit low numbers like 6, 5, 7. But I think it will maintain 800 with the occasional 800 plus with the occasional 7 throughout the summer. Once Upon a One More Time went from 64% to 69%, going from $609,000 last week to $612,355 this week. Again, I don't think this show is doing so well. I mean, most shows that perform at that theater don't do well, so I'm going to just say it's a flop, and I think it will be done before the end of the year. Just because this is not the kind of momentum that you want to see built, especially for a thing in previews. And yes, I know, discounted prices, but you kind of can get a sense of what shows are going to do well financially or not from previews, even though they are discounted. There are some exceptions, there are some anomalies, but in general, that's the main way you can tell, and I just don't see it going well. Parade made $1 million and 94% capacity, which was up from the 91% last week. Shocked went from 92% to 96% for 7 performances, going from 706,683 to 699,954. And again, Shocked, it's going to be interesting to see how this does post Tonys. Again, I think it will do 700, 600, 800 in the summer, and then it will start to fall into the 5 and the 4s, and it will close in January. I think New York, Shocked, and Akimbo all close in January. But Shocked could pull a Beetlejuice. We don't know how well that Tony performance will do, although it definitely has gotten a more divided response. So we'll see about that one. This musical surprised me, so I'm not gonna say anything definitive yet, but I don't think we will know if it makes it past January until the fall. I think the summer, all shows do very well. There are some things that don't do well, and Shocked might be one of them, but I don't think it will, go to 800 or 900 or $1 million. I just don't see that happening. 6 went from 849,000 to 953,714, going from 83% to 96%. Some Like It Hot went from 924,598 to $1 million, and going from 79% to 88%. And I'm very interested to see if Some Like It Hot can maintain $1 million, because I think universally, people said that was the best Tony performance, and I will agree. So if this can maintain 900 to 1 million, lowest 850, it could make it past January. It could. But, again, I think it will do well enough in the summer, but I think once we hit the fall, I have a feeling it's not going to do so well. I think with a show like Some Like It Hot, you go past 850K, you're in dangerous territory. And if it does 700, 600 consistently, that's going to be an issue. And while it's doing 800, 900, $1 million now, and it's doing it consistently, prior to the Tonys, it did do and 9 and a million, but not consistently. It was more in the 7s and the 8s consistently, which isn't horrendous, but it's not great, and it's not enough to sustain it for years. And then Sweeney went from 1,854,246 to 1,880,939 and 100.80% capacity. So those are the grosses for this week. Ultimately, much better week than last week. All of the shows are doing well. And my personal prediction is that Shucked, Kimberly Akimbo, New York, and Some Like It Hot will all close in January. But I feel like that's not going to happen necessarily. If I were to predict one that would have closed before anything else, I would say New York. I feel like the Shucked producers are going to be very stubborn and are going to fight until they have to close. And I feel like Some Like It Hot has enough momentum that they're going to try and wane it out. But I could see New York doing that. But again, with the producing team that's attached to New York, it's an embarrassment to close in September. So I don't think that's going to happen. And Akimbo could make it past January. It very well could. I think Kimberly Akimbo and Shucked, actually not Shucked, Kimberly Akimbo and Some Like It Hot, I think, are the two shows that could make it past January. However, Shucked could take Some Like It Hot's place. Again, we're going to have to see in the upcoming weeks, and especially in the fall, that's when we will know, okay, this is what's happening. But for right now, all shows can breathe a sigh of relief knowing that most of them will not close post-Labor Day or on Labor Day. So that's the video. Like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you next week. Peace.